The champagne flute shattered against the polished hardwood floor of the church basement, shards flying like accusations as Uncle Roy's voice boomed over the pre-wedding chatter. "You think you can waltz in here like nothing happened, Henry? After what you did to Alex?" My face burned hotter than the July sun baking the Kansas plains outside. Every eye in the room. Cousins, aunts, the florist pinning corsages, swiveling toward me like I just confessed to robbing the family farm blind. I wanted to vanish into the cracked plaster walls. But there was no running from this. Not with Alexander's wedding just an hour away and the ghost of our stolen summers haunting every forced smile. It started like so many regrets do in small-town America. A secret too heavy to carry alone. Alexander and I grew up on the same dusty block in Wichita, back when football fields were our battlegrounds and the local diner served milkshakes thick enough to drown sorrows. He was the golden boy, quarterback with a jawline that could cut glass and eyes like the endless prairie sky. I was the quiet one, the kid with paint-stained fingers from sketching barns at sunset, always trailing in his wake like a shadow afraid of the light. We were 15 when it happened first, that awkward fumble behind the bleachers after homecoming, his breath hot against my neck as the crowd's cheers faded into the night. "This doesn't make us weird, right, Hen?" he'd whispered, and I'd nodded, heart pounding like a freight train, because in 2000s Kansas, weird was just code for doomed. By college, we'd carved out a fragile world in Lawrence, away from the Bible Belt's unyielding grip. KU's sprawling campus felt like freedom. Beer pong in frat houses, late-night drives along the Kaw River, his hand brushing mine under the dashboard when no one was looking. We called it us against the world, laughing over greasy diner fries about escaping to New York or LA, where guys like us could walk hand in hand without whispers trailing like shotgun smoke. But Alexander's family loomed large, a sprawling clan of ranchers and realtors who'd pinned their legacy on him like a sheriff's badge. "You're the one who'll make us proud," his dad would say, clapping his shoulder hard enough to bruise, eyes gleaming with expectations sharper than barbed wire. I saw the cracks forming then, the way he'd pull away after a kiss, muttering about figuring things out, while staring at the ceiling like it held answers in the water stains. The betrayal hit like a twister in Flatlands, no warning, just devastation. It was sophomore year, spring break, and we'd driven back to Wichita for Easter, the air thick with blooming lilacs and unspoken fears. His parents threw a barbecue, the kind where pickup trucks lined the gravel drive and aunts passed deviled eggs like holy sacraments. That's when I met her. Claire, the pastor's daughter from the next county over, with her honey blonde curls and laugh like wind chimes. She was everything his family prayed for. Church choir soprano, home EC whiz, the girl who'd birth grandkids to carry on the Hayes name. Alexander introduced us casually, his grin too wide, too rehearsed. "Henry's my best buddy from school," he said, and I swallowed the bile rising in my throat, nodding like a puppet on strings. That night, after too many beers around the fire pit, I cornered him in the barn, the scent of hay and regret choking the air. "What the hell, Alex? You ghosted me all semester, and now this." He leaned against a stall door, moonlight slicing through the slats like accusations. "It's not like that, Hen. Claire. She's safe. My folks are breathing down my neck about the future, the farm, all of it. If I don't play along." His voice cracked, and for a second, I thought he'd pull me close like old times. Instead, he turned away, shoulders rigid. "We were kids. This is real life. Real life." The words sliced deeper than any knife, leaving me bleeding out in the shadows while he walked back to the party, her arm looping through his like it belonged there. I fled to Denver after graduation, chasing art gigs in lofts that smelled of turpentine and takeout Thai. Alexander stayed in Kansas, building the life scripted for him. Law degree from Washburn, partnership at his dad's firm, and Claire on his arm at every Rotary Club gala. We exchanged emails at first, stilted updates about jobs and weather, the subtext screaming what we wouldn't say. Then radio silence, broken only by the occasional Facebook like that felt like salt in a wound. I dated sporadically, guys who were easy on the eyes but hard on the heart, always comparing their laughs to his. But I told myself I'd moved on, that the ache in my chest was just altitude sickness from the Rockies. 5 years later, the invitation arrived like a grenade in my mailbox. Embossed cardstock, scripted font announcing Alexander Hayes and Claire Whitaker, July 20th, First Presbyterian in Wichita. Your presence would mean the world. It read, and I hated how my hands shook crumpling it, how the what-ifs clawed up from the grave. I almost tossed it, but pride or masochism won out. I'd go, I'd smile through the toasts, prove to myself and to him that I was unbreakable. Flying into Wichita that morning, the flatlands unrolling below like an old map I'd memorized, I rehearsed my lines. Congrats, man. You look happy. Lies, all of them, but necessary armor. The church was a monument to Midwest piety. Steeple piercing the blue sky, pews worn smooth by generations of whispered amens. Family swarmed the basement for the rehearsal dinner setup, air humming with laughter and the clink of silverware. I hugged aunts who smelled of Chanel No. 5 and hairspray, dodged questions about my city life, with vague nods to graphic design freelance. Then Uncle Roy cornered me by the dessert table, his face ruddy from the flask he always carried. He'd always suspected, I guess, the way Alexander and I used to disappear on fishing trips that yielded no trout. Heard from some folks you two were close back in the day. He slurred, eyes narrowing like a hawk spotting prey. Ruined him, boy. Made him question everything. Claire's the cure. The champagne flute was in my hand before I realized, the stems snapping under my grip as his words landed like punches. Shards glittered on the linoleum, drawing gasps, and suddenly the room was a courtroom, me on trial for crimes of the heart. Claire's mother rushed over, dabbing at the spill with a napkin, her voice syrupy, concern masking the judgment. Oh, Henry dear, accidents happen. But really, with Alex's big day. Cousins whispered behind manicured hands, and I felt the weight of it all. Their stares stripping me bare, outing a truth I'd buried deeper than coal seams. I mumbled an apology, fleeing to the side room where suits hung like ghosts, my reflection in the mirror a stranger with hollow eyes. The ceremony started at dusk, the sanctuary aglow with candlelight and the murmur of 200 souls settling in. I slid into a back pew, program clutched like a shield, watching Alexander process down the aisle in his tux. Every inch the groom America dreams up. Tall, broad-shouldered, the kind of man who'd star in a Ford truck ad. Claire followed, radiant in lace and veil, her smile beaming under the chandeliers. The organ swelled with Ave Maria, and my throat tightened, memories flooding. Lazy afternoons in his dorm bed, fingers tracing constellations on skin. The promise we'd made under a harvest moon to fight for this. Damn the consequences. Reverend Whitaker droned on about covenant and forever. Rings exchanged with trembling hands, and I braced for the kiss that would seal it all. But as he pronounced the man and wife, Alexander froze, his lips hovering inches from hers. The sanctuary held its breath, a collective inhale like the calm before a storm. Then, in a voice raw as gravel under tires, he pulled back. Wait, I can't. Gasps rippled through the pews like wheat in wind. Claire's face crumpled, confusion twisting into hurt, and his parents half rose from the front row, faces ashen. He turned, scanning the crowd until his eyes locked on mine, blue fire cutting through the haze. Grabbing the microphone from the reverend's stand, he stepped into the aisle, the cord trailing like an umbilical cord to truth. Everyone, please. I have to say this now, or it'll eat me alive. The room was a tomb, silent save for a baby's distant cry. Claire, you're the kindest soul I know, and I'll spend my life making this right by you. But this marriage, it's a lie. Built on fear, on what I thought I had to be for my family, for this town. His voice cracked, but he pressed on, chest heaving. The truth is, I'm in love with Henry. Have been since we were boys throwing rocks at coyotes and dreaming bigger than these fields. I betrayed him, I betrayed us by trying to bury it. But I can't anymore. Not today, not ever. Pandemonium erupted. His mother's sob echoing off the rafters, Uncle Roy's bellow of outrage, cousins fumbling for phones like lifelines. Claire stood statue still, veil trembling, while I gripped the pew until splinters bit my palms, tears blurring the man who just cracked open his heart for the world to see. Security, really just the deacons in ill-fitting vests, moved to usher him out, but he held his ground, eyes never leaving mine. Henry, if you'll have me, let's build something real this time. No more hiding. I don't remember standing, only the blur of bodies parting as I pushed forward, the aisle feeling endless as a marathon. His hand found mine at the altar, warm and calloused from years of pretending, and in that grip was every unsaid I love you, every stolen glance across crowded rooms. The crowd surged, some in fury, others in stunned sympathy, but we didn't let go. Claire slipped away quietly, her grace a quiet thunder, and as sirens wailed faintly from the parking lot, someone had called the cops because of course. Alexander pulled me into the vestry, the door slamming shut on the chaos. We didn't run that night. Instead, we sat on the cold tile floor amid stacked hymnals, his head on my shoulder, whispering futures that scared us both. Divorce papers, disowned kin, starting over in a city where love wasn't a scandal. His family fractured. His dad cut him off from the firm. Aunts unfriended us on every app, but glimmers emerged. Claire, fierce as any prairie rose, filed amicably and started a support group for queer folks in the heartland. Uncle Roy? He showed up unannounced 6 months later, Bible in hand but apology on his lips, mumbling about job and redemption over black coffee at our new apartment in Kansas City. It's been a year now, and the wounds still ache on rainy days, when the sky weeps for what we lost. But Alexander and I wake to sunrises over the Missouri River, his sketches of custom signs for local businesses mingling with my digital art on the fridge. We host barbecues for the outcasts, the trans barista from down the street, the lesbian couple fighting for farm adoption rights, and in those laughter-filled yards, I see the America we fought for. Flawed, fierce, human. Love isn't a fairy tale here. It's a reckoning, a daily choice to stand unapologetic under wide skies. And as he kisses my temple each morning, murmuring no more lies, I know we'd shatter 1,000 flutes to get here again,